Well, see, when you look at somebody like me, I grew up here. There's nothing you can tell me about Memphis that I don't already know.
There's nothing you can tell me about Memphis.
From the boardroom to the streets.
I don't already know.
With Mike from Memphis, man. Together, we can fix things. Really?
When you say, I want to be treated fairly, and I want a voice.
Yeah. He saw things weren't fair, so he chose to run for mayor. You get up and do something when you really care. It's Memphis 360.
I'm with you.
In the meantime,
It's Memphis 360.
In the meantime, in between time, we got folks shooting people up out the frame. Anybody said a word. We've become accustomed to people dying in this city.
Yeah. It's Memphis 360.
Turning the TV on and the news and see our loved ones and see young people that are out of control. And now see, okay. We talk about incarceration. We talk about the youth. We talk about giving them the ability. We talk about investing in young people and investing in the community. See, I hate ignorance. I hate when people make decisions about things and they make statements and they haven't done their research.
How can you fix the problem when you don't even know what the problem is?
We need some help in this city.
It's Memphis 360.
See, I hate ignorance.
It's Memphis 360. Man.
And good evening. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Memphis 360, the television show that we like to say go from the boardroom to the streets. We like to get all of those individuals on here that are the movers and the shakers here in the city of Memphis. And we also like to get those individuals that are actually out there in the streets doing whatever it is that they do. There's so many interesting things here that are going on in the city of Memphis. How about those Grizzlies? Yeah! Man, here it is. We're in the playoffs, baby. And we are 3-2. And we got to go back to deal with those. Who are we playing? The Wolverines?
Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves. Thank you, Judge. We're playing the Timberwolves, man. I've been so excited about this series, and I think Memphis Grizzlies are doing a lot of exciting things. They're bringing a lot to this city. We had so many stars that showed up at the FedEx Forum the other night. Memphis has so much potential, and if we keep going in this direction, we just got to get some of this crime under control, so that when those individuals come into this city, they're going to be okay. But this is a show we like to say we go from the boardroom to the streets. And I'm trying to bring individuals onto the show, and I've been so fortunate because a lot of good people have taken the time and opportunity to come here to try to educate us, because I learned a lot as well. And it also gives you the opportunity to, if you want to call in, the number to call is 244-6874, 244-6874, to be able to talk to these individuals that have given of themselves and their time to come in and to sit down and just have a conversation. You know, I like to break it all the way down. Before we have a conversation with Judge Gomes, I'm going to try to have a conversation with Miss Kathleen Gomes, because I like to know where they came from. And I think it's good for the citizenry of Shelby County and the city of Memphis, you know, when you're out here voting for these people, because a lot of them have done so many great and outstanding things prior to them getting to the positions that they're in now. It's taken them all around the world or all across the United States, because I've learned that she was out in Washington working for a congresswoman and all kinds of things. And I also want to know what you young people that are out there, you know, a lot of times they look at us, Judge. Mm-hmm. I'm 61. I'm going to be 62.
We won't talk about my age.
Yes, ma'am. We know you're about 17, 18, 19.
At least.
So, but, you know, they look at us and they go, They want that quick, fast money, but they don't understand the struggles that
Pay the dues.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The things that we've had to go through. You know, I've been through the Army, retired, police department, retired. Now I'm working in General Sessions courts. But that's been a long haul, a long, arduous, haul. And reading the judge's bio, and I've just been kind of doing some background on her as well. You know, she's done some things, and she's not at this point did she decide to help the community, but back early in life, some things propelled her and inspired her to want to become a judge and different things like that. But we're going to talk to Kathleen Gomes first, if that's okay, ma'am.
That's fine.
Okay, so first of all, tell us a little bit about Kathleen Gomes. Where do you come from, and give us a little bit of your coming up in life.
Okay. Well, I'm actually from Chattanooga.
Yes.
I was born and raised in Chattanooga. You know, my father traveled a lot.
Okay.
My mother was a social worker. And, you know, back in the day, social workers did a lot.
Right,
You know, and they were lifetime jobs. You know, they didn't just come in and go out. They were totally careers. And I saw the frustration that my mother had with trying to help social events and try to help people, and it kept getting roadblocks. And I thought, well, you know, as a lawyer, I can do more. I can do more. And that was what really motivated me to finally go to law school. I think we mentioned before, I really wanted to be a singer.
Right.
You know,
Can you sing, Judge?
I really wanted to be a singer, but then I decided that I really needed to make money and have a life, you know, that wasn't just traveling all over. So my mother really inspired me to go into the law to see if I could do more than just watch things happen and just not be able to do anything about it. So that's how I started. I went to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. I, went all through grammar school, high school, everything in Chattanooga, and then came over here to law school. And then took a few detours along the way, but then ended up staying here. And so I've been here, and I've been a lawyer for over 42 years. I had done probate work for the last probably 20 years of my practice, really specializing in a lot of not only conservatorships and wills and estates, but a lot of contested matters. And then I decided that at some point that it was just time for me to move on and see if I could become a judge. Wow. So in 2013, when Judge Benham decided to retire, I was appointed by the county commission, and then I ran in 2014. I'm running again now, and I'm very thankful to say that I'm unopposed, so I'm going to have another 8 years. The thing is about probate court that's interesting is that, since I've been a lawyer so long, I've just seen the progression that we have more and more contested matters in probate. We have more and more conservatorships, more and more guardianships, more and more things that deal with a lot of family issues, But that's how I started. That's how I've been here. And, and we're so lucky in Shelby County because we actually had 2 full-time probate courts. We're the only ones in the entire state of Tennessee that have that. Wow. Other areas like even Nashville, which is large, their probate judge is a circuit judge who sits as a probate judge. Wow. And that's true in Chattanooga too. The chancellor has like 1 day a week that she sits as a probate judge. We have 2 full-time probate judges, and we are busy.
Yeah, I know, the first time I really had dealings with you, unfortunately, we had an officer, the first female officer that was killed here in the city of Memphis, Miss Montoya Lang. And, the community was so gracious and kind, as usual. Memphis is one of the most giving cities when it comes to charity in the nation. And because Montoya Lang had 4 kids that she left behind, the citizens of the city of Memphis, Shelby County, and the surrounding areas, and actually all across the country, individuals came together to contribute to ensure that those children had some type of future. But that meant that there was a whole lot of money,
And we've had a lot of litigation.
I remember being in your
A
court.
lot of litigation.
I remember because I think I held on to that money for
You were the
almost a
easy
year.
part.
I held on to that money for almost a year because I almost set up a trust. But
Right,
then
I
I
remember.
found out that, I said, well, I'm not going to be the president of the police association forever, and I want to make sure that the money is
Right.
going to go somewhere that it could be some stewardship could be over it and different things like that. So
Well, the other part of probate court that we deal with a lot of individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities.
Right.
And that's another area that I'm very passionate about. I serve on the board of the ARC of the Mid-South, which is an agency that helps people with disabilities. And we do, once you turn age 18, you're presumed to be an adult.
Right.
And so we have a large amount of conservatorships that we do that are just for individuals who are like adults now, but their parents are going to be taking care of them the rest of their lives because they have intellectual or developmental disabilities. And so I'm really active in that community because it is something that I'm very passionate about. These are people that need the assistance of the court. We have parents that are really lifetime caregivers. It's not easy.
Right.
And I always try to make sure that these individuals know how much I appreciate what they do for their children.
evidently you've been doing that for a long time.
I am telling you, it's been a lot for you.
Because even when I go back and look at
A long time, yeah.
look back into your history.
No, I've been on the
different things
board
like that.
for the ARC for probably 25 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
long time.
wow. And you say you've been drawn to that?
Yes, I actually have a niece that is disabled.
Okay.
But it's just it's an area that I just think that people don't realize. They don't appreciate, I don't think, what parents go through that have children with disabilities.
Okay.
It is it's a lifetime commitment, and it is not easy.
Right.
But I have never had a conservatorship regardless of what the disability is. They could be disabled from birth and they can't, they may just be autistic, or they may be Down syndrome, or they may actually be like completely bedridden and a paraplegic. I have never had a family that didn't tell me that the joy always outweighed the burden.
Wow.
And they would never, ever change anything. For some people, it's just a smile because they can't talk. It's just a smile. So it's a very, I'm very passionate about it because I can't imagine living like that.
Wow.
I can't imagine. The one thing I did want to talk about tonight really is conservatorships, because it's an area that I really feel strongly about educating the public on. I said I'd never thought that I would be in a position to thank Britney Spears for anything. But she had
Brittany. Okay.
But she has brought to the attention of the nation
Yes.
the issue of conservatorships. And I've actually given a number of seminars since it came up, because people think, oh, this is so terrible, she's been so put upon, and I want people to understand that there is a process. And I don't know, she had plenty of money to get lawyers long ago, so I don't know why it took her so long to get where she is right now. But, the interesting thing about the conservatorship law, and that's why I want to read it to you. It's one size fits all.
Okay.
So you can be 85 with dementia, or you can be, developmentally disabled, or you can be mentally ill, or you can have any kind of issue, be in the hospital with COVID. These are they all fit, it's the same definition. And what it says, in order for me to establish a conservatorship, it says, I have to say that you're a person with a disability. And so I want to read the definition to you because I think it's important to hear it.
Right.
It's a person with a disability means any person 18 years or older determined by the court to be in need of partial or full supervision, protection, assistance by reason of mental illness, physical illness or injury, developmental disability, or other mental or physical incapacity. So that's why it fits all. That's how and in order to do a conservatorship, you do have to have a doctor who can verify these things, that this person is disabled. What we have found, and COVID has been horrendous for us in the court system. When COVID started, we had to try to change things in the court system. You know this from general sessions. Every court system did it a little bit different. We've had to do Zoom. We didn't even know there was a thing called Zoom. We've done telephone. We've done in court, out of court. You know, someone asked me where my East office was, and I said it's in my kitchen. And we've done everything we can to accommodate people, to let them come into court, whether that be by Zoom, whether that be by telephone, or actually coming into court. For the last 2 years, we have tried to maneuver through the system. So what has happened is that we know that there are individuals in this community that need assistance. That's why I say if you see something, say something. We know that we have elderly people with dementia that are being taken advantage of.
Wow.
They can be taken advantage of financially by a caregiver.
Yes.
They can be taken advantage of by a relative, a son or a daughter. We've even had, institutions or trust officers in the past that have taken advantage. We've had a lot of theft, and it has to be brought to our attention, though.
Yeah.
You know, we have to know about it.
Right.
There actually are criminal statutes for elder abuse, but they hadn't done much prosecution for those. But we've had a surge of people being taken advantage of, even scams. Oh my goodness, scams! Oh Lord!
Everybody's trying to get their hands on individuals' money.
Well, and people get targeted.
Yeah.
And once you are the victim of a scam, you must get on some kind of a list, because then pretty soon you're getting called over and over again. And the other thing that people need to understand, you can be socially fine. You can go to church. You can drive your car. You can have lunch with your friends, and you've given all your money away. And I see this a lot. People because dementia runs in different ways. And that's why sometimes we separate the property from the person. So the estate, as we call it, from the person.
Okay.
I have a case right now where the man is so competent, or he presents so well, that he's given away literally hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And it just, and you're like, don't you understand? And it is hard for us to realize that someone could be that socially adept and yet have given away all their money. So we deal with that on a daily basis. We deal with people who are being taken advantage of, and that's why it's so important. And I tell people, at church, if you see somebody that needs some assistance, and you don't know a relative or somebody to call, you can always call like Adult Protective Services. We've had a lot of hoarders. When you see something, say something. So let me just tell you a little bit how you get started.
How do you get started?
I've done this before. I know this hard. As I take over your show.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to tell you, Judge, I was just sitting here thinking, and I was like, oh, wow. But I like it.
Okay, that's okay. Good thing. So let me tell you how you get started. You have to have a lawyer. Okay. Because we're taking away somebody's rights. I mean, remember, when we do a conservatorship, we are literally taking away their rights to make medical decisions, their right to making property decisions, their right to everything. So you have to have a lawyer. You start out with a petition, and you need an affidavit from a doctor saying that this individual is in need of a conservator. Then the next thing that happens is it's brought to me, and I appoint someone that's called a guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem is an attorney. It's an attorney that has no relationship to anybody, and they are supposed to investigate to see, first of all, is there a need for a conservatorship, and second of all, who we need to appoint. So they look into their finances. They contact family members. They contact doctors. They contact relatives, neighbors, and then they write a report. And that's the report that I read.
Come to you.
Then we have a hearing, and the guardian ad litem must personally see the person. They have to explain to them what their rights are, that what's being taken away, that there's a petition that's been filed, and they're going to take away your right to make decisions for yourself.
And I can personally attest to this, because going back to the Montoya Lane case, you appointed a guardian ad litem.
That's right. That was because we can do it for children
Yes.
as well as we do it for because that was guardianships, which are
Right.
people under the age of 18.
Right.
Conservatorships are over 18. So you appoint somebody who's going to do this investigation. They're actually going to go to the bank, too, and they're going to ask for bank records because they want to see if money is being taken out and who's spending it. You know, if thousands are being taken. I mean, it's part of the investigation. But they tell the individual that they have a right to be in court, they have a right to fight it, and they have a right to have their own attorney. So it could be that I would have to appoint another attorney to be there, because the guardian ad litem represents the best interest, okay? Whereas an attorney ad litem is an adversary counsel. Then we have a hearing. The person has a right to be there or not be there, and then the law also says that I can only take away the least restrictive means. In other words, I don't take away everything unless I have to. Okay. I never take away the right to vote. I think that that's just one of those things that you just should never take away. But I can take away your right to drive, the right to contract, the right to make medical decisions, the right. I mean, all of those. And
that's a lot of power.
Well, it's interesting too, because in the old days, you know, because I've been doing this a long time.
It's a lot of power.
In the old days, all the order said is all of the rights. Just it didn't delineate the rights. It just said all rights are given from the are taken from the individual and given to the conservator. Okay. Now you have to delineate. Now, if they have money, they must be bonded. Okay, because the bond protects the money.
Good money.
It keeps, and it doesn't matter if the person I'm appointing is the daughter, the husband, the wife, or whoever it is. They have to be bonded. And that means that that person who's the conservator can't steal the money and go to Tunica. And because the bonding company will pay it back. Okay.
The number to call is 244-6874. We are live on Facebook. The number to call is 244-6874, 244-6874. You are watching SVP TV Network. We have Judge Kathleen Gomes, who is Probate Court Division 1 in the studio tonight. If there are any questions, because, you know, it's so ironic, and I'm going to let you start back, but it's so ironic. Someone called me today about a case where there was an 87-year-old lady who has dementia, and her daughter supposedly has stolen the house and did all kinds of things on the bank account, you know, so this is something that is really needed. And there are individuals out there right now that are going through situations such as this, because I see it all the time. And that's why I thought this would be definitely a good show, because people need to know some of the steps that they can take, some of the things that they can do when it comes to these matters. Because if you're going to live long enough, all of us are going to have situations to where, as we're going to be older, hopefully some of us have built up a little nest egg or a house or, you know, some means, and it's going to have to be determined at some point how these things are going to be administered or distributed or cared for when we are no longer able to do it for ourselves, or if in fact you are doing it for one of your loved ones that has experienced some of the difficulties that the judge has already mentioned. If they have a disability, if they're ill and in the hospital, if they're going through things, or if they're not in their right minds or something to that effect. So these are good things to know, and you definitely need to listen, because the judge is putting out a lot of good information. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. Well, as a matter of fact, you know, we have now had situations where we've had hospitals that have been bringing conservatorships because someone, you know, may be homeless and gets basically dumped in the hospital, and they have no family. And they're not in a position to make any kind of decisions, and so the hospital is like, we're tied. What do we do with them? We need somebody to act on their behalf. So we've had hospitals that have been opening conservatorships. We've had nursing homes that have been opening them, because we can end up in a situation where someone has no one, But what I was going to say, that one of the things that has been a challenge in COVID. There's so many things that have been a challenge.
COVID.
But you know, part of what your job is as a guardian ad litem is you have to personally see the person.
Okay.
You're supposed to go and talk to them one-on-one. Even if they're comatose, you're supposed to go and tell them what their rights are. I mean, it's just by statute.
Wow.
Well, we weren't allowed to go into hospitals, or we weren't allowed, my guardian ad litem, they couldn't go in the nursing home. You know, that family members couldn't even go in. No one could go in the nursing home.
Right.
And so we had to come up with a mechanism because the statute says it needs to be in person. So we were trying to do FaceTime, you know, and sometimes they would do that. And then it's been a challenge. Now, they're more open now than they were, but we've even had some nursing homes in recent months that have shut down with COVID.
Right.
It continues to be a challenge. COVID has challenged the court system in ways that we never dreamed that it would.
Exactly.
The good thing, you know, all the courts got a lot of COVID money. And so they put in all this fancy equipment in my courtroom.
Upgraded.
Yeah, boy, it's really upgraded. We didn't know how to use it, but it was fancy. But the one good thing that has happened is now that we're back in court, and I do a little bit of everything. I let people choose what they want to do. But if someone's in a nursing home, we can actually set up a Zoom in the nursing home, and they're on the monitor in the courtroom, and we can have live, you know, people testifying.
Right.
But the person that is disabled doesn't have to come into court.
Right.
And so it's one of the good things that has happened is that we're able to kind of bifurcate things so that someone can attend without the danger or having to come downtown, you know, or be exposed. Exactly.
Or having to travel.
But an individual does have the right to appear. And so that's another challenge. And that's why I say it's been so good about the Zoom, because they can participate without having to actually come in. And then people from out of town can participate. We've had a lot of people that come in on Zoom that are relatives that live in other states. Even in another country, we've had that, you know, where they can come in.
Wow.
So it's people are able to view it.
I tell you, COVID has changed the way we do business.
Everything.
Period.
And it's not all bad.
Yeah.
It's not all bad. Not all good either, but it's not all bad.
Technology.
But it has allowed us to let people come in, and of course, you know, we do other things beside conservatorship. It's just that conservatorships have been so important in the last 2 years. I mean, I actually have some statistics because it's just been interesting. I'm just talking about how many cases we've handled. So like in 2019, we handled 13, this is just my court.
Okay.
And I handled 1,378 cases, 95 of which were conservatorships.
Wow.
In 2020, we had 1,338, 131 were conservatorships.
Wow.
In 2021, I handled 1,599 cases, of which 141 were conservatorships.
Wow.
So you can see the need has continued to grow.
Yeah.
COVID, we've had husbands and wives that have been in the hospital with COVID, and a family member has to come in, and they've been on ventilators. I mean, COVID, we've had a lot of COVID death. We've had a lot of COVID conservatorships. It has just been so sad.
Wow.
So sad. We've had lawyers that get COVID, and it's another good thing about having the Zoom is they can still participate at home without having to come in. They can quarantine, because a lot of people that have COVID, as you know, don't really get seriously ill.
Right.
So they can participate in a hearing on Zoom. And not expose any of us.
Well, that's, like I said, COVID has changed the way that we do. That is a lot of cases.
It's a lot of cases. And that's not counting, these are new cases now. These aren't things that I do.
Continuous series.
Yeah, all the other stuff that we do.
Okay.
Because we do probate wills, you know, we do wills and estates and things like that. So that's another issue. But conservatorships and contested conservatorships have become a lot of what we call litigation in our court. When I first started practicing long ago, we had a few contested conservatorships, but nothing like we have now. People are fighting up. They want to, you know, I never thought I'd be setting visitation, but, you know, we have conservatorships where they're mad because, the brother has the mother in the house and he won't let the sister come and visit. And I mean, it's a lot of domestic stuff like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is that if we do set a bond, you have to be bondable. If you have bad credit, you can't be bondable.
Wow.
If you've committed a felony, you cannot serve in any capacity.
Wow.
The statute is very clear. You cannot serve if you've committed a felony. If you've had bankruptcy, you're not going to be bondable. And so even if you're the next of kin and you are the one that needs to take care of mama, if you can't, you got to be bondable.
So hold up. So if you've ever filed bankruptcy, you're not bondable, or is there,
You may not
a
be.
time limit?
It depends on what kind of bankruptcy you file
Okay.
and how long ago it is. And I don't set the parameters on whether you're bondable.
Right.
You have to go to the bonding company, but they're very strict
Okay.
on good credit.
Okay.
Because some of our cases, most of them are less than 100,000, but I've done one right now that's 9 million. So you gotta be. You gotta have really good credit
I know
for $9
that's
million.
right.
Really good
Everybody's
credit.
trying to get their hands on that one.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother story.
Another story. And so then what we do, once we make that decision as to whether or not somebody needs it, then we determine what rights are taken away. And then within 45 to 60 days, they have to do what's called a property management plan, in which they come to me and they set up a budget. Because at that point in time, they can kind of take hold of the money, see how much we actually have, see what the needs are. Are they in a nursing home? Do they need to have 24-hour care in their home? We try to do and work with the individuals, but you have to work within the money.
Right.
As much as we want to keep someone in their home, you can't pay for 24-hour day care unless you got plenty of money or you got lots of relatives that are, say they're going to step in and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And then sometimes, the sad thing is if they fight too much over who's going to see mama, we may need to put them in a nursing home because that's the only way they can go. Where everyone can visit without a fight.
Right. And that's one of the things that kind of perplexed me and I kind of grappled with during the Montoya Lane case, because you did appoint a guardian ad litem, which was the right thing to do. I had to come to grips with, now you got to pay for that guardian ad litem.
True.
So that's going to come out of the money.
It comes out of the money.
And
You're right.
at the time, I'm trying to make sure that these girls get every dime that they could, but because the family, or there were issues that were going
Lots of
on.
issues.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There were
no, no.
issues going on.
The
it
more you
prolonged it, and now the guardian ad litem is on longer, and that's pulling money out of the account. And like you said, I'm glad, I don't think you had to appoint another lawyer.
Right.
But, it's kind of like, oh, wait, now how is this going to go?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, because the all of the fees come out of the
money.
individuals.
Yeah,
That's
come
correct.
out of the money.
And the more you fight, the more expensive it is.
Yes.
Okay. And I am the one that has to set the fees.
Ooh,
okay. And I don't like it when I get huge fees and little money.
Right.
And so I reduce fees a lot.
Right.
Because the fact is that I am very cognizant of the fact that it's coming out of somebody's money. On the other hand, you also have to weigh that with the fact that you need the help.
Yeah.
And you got to have good help to figure these things out. The other thing that happened, I think there are two communities that were the most affected by COVID, and that is our disabled community and our elderly. Because the disabled community ended up having to have virtual school. And we're talking about individuals with disabilities that they need that personal touch.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, I had one not too long ago, and he was literally a quadriplegic with, brain damage and everything. And he was going to school every day. And then now they put him in front of a computer to watch school virtually. Can you imagine how difficult that is for someone with that kind of disability to go to school on a camera,
Look, it was hard to get our kids that go to school
well, yeah.
today that was in their right mind
Exactly.
to be able to sit in front of a
And
computer.
then the other side of the disabled community, of the elderly, you couldn't go in the nursing home, you couldn't check on mama. And in these nursing homes, I don't care how good they are, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. The individuals who do the best in nursing homes have family members that are checking on them on a regular basis.
Yes.
They're checking to see whether they have bed sores. They're checking to see if they've taken their medication. They're checking to see if they're clean. They're checking to see if the facility is clean.
Right.
You couldn't get in.
Right.
You couldn't get in. You couldn't check on mama. So you got these individuals that were then getting so depressed, they're already
Right.
in a nursing home, isolated, can't see their family, can't do anything. And I mean, it's just been devastating. So those are the two areas that have been the most affected. I mean, we're all affected.
Right.
But it's just been so sad, so sad. And it's took so long for the nursing homes, even the hospital, to open up so that people could get in and see their kinfolk.
Yeah, people that, it's so unfortunate. I heard so many stories about individuals that had been admitted to the hospital and they may have even succumbed to their illness.
Absolutely.
And they had to do it alone, because nobody could get into the hospitals, but that's a whole
It's been.
So let me ask you this. So how long have you been on the bench?
Okay, so I was the probate court here is a little different than we have state jurisdiction.
Okay.
But I'm actually paid by the county. Oh. So, which means that when Judge Benham retired, I was initially appointed in 2013 by the Shelby County Commission. Okay. And then I ran in 2014. So I've actually been a judge now for 9 years.
Okay.
And then I get to go 8 more since did I mention I was unopposed?
I hope I won't have to do all of this work, Judge. That's a lot.
Well, but see, here's the thing, is that I'm out in the community anyway. And, of course, the sad thing about COVID is that I just did a lot of seminars that were on Zoom.
Okay.
But I never stopped. It's just that now I can get out and continue what I always do, which is try to educate. The good thing about my court that's different than a lot of I can educate people as to what to do. Okay. In some of the other courts, it's like, okay, we do divorces and we do contracts and we do, I can tell people what they need to do to get help. And I love that about my court and what I do is that I can help the community and educate especially in this area of conservatorships.
Right.
That it's especially because, the rest of the stuff, I mean, certainly we do a lot of wills and estates and things like that, and they're contested matters. We don't have too many will contests anymore because if a will has been properly done by a lawyer, they're really hard. They're hard to break.
That's what it is.
They're hard to break. But we do have, issues about who's going to serve and if there's not a will. And I mean, we certainly have that on a day-to-day basis. But the conservatorships and of course the guardianships are for people under the age of 18. The case that you're talking about was a lot more contested than most. But one of the things we've discovered is we have jurisdiction over the person and estate of anybody under the age of 18.
Okay.
I'm sure that any of your folks that are listening that have been to juvenile court know that it's not easy to go to juvenile court for anything. And so we have discovered a lot of these domestic lawyers who never grace probate court have been filing for guardianships in probate because it's so much easier to get a hearing than it is in juvenile court.
Okay.
So we've been doing a lot of guardianships, and you can do a guardianship just over the person, but most of our guardianships come up because someone has inherited money. And a minor cannot directly receive money. Okay. They have to go through a guardianship. So you can't, that's why we tell people don't leave money to your, 3-year-old grandchild because they're not going to get it. They're going to have to go through a guardianship to get it. You can't just leave money to a minor.
So that means somebody's going to have stewardship over that money regardless.
Correct.
Because they have to care for the child.
Right.
So therefore, they have to be provided the means to be able to care for that child.
Right. And they got to have supervision. There's supervision.
So tell us one of the best highlights that you have. I won't say high profile cases, but sitting on the bench in probate court, what has been some of the highlights for you? Something that has made you go, yeah, this makes it all worthwhile, or?
Well, I tell you, there's two different areas that I think that are highlights to me. When I have a guardianship, and I don't ever give them out when they're just 18, okay? I make them see what they're going to do a little bit later. But when I have a young person that comes in who has started college, done really well, or, scholarships, it gives me a lot of pleasure to terminate the guardianship and give them the money, because they've done everything they're supposed to do. They've done everything their parents wanted to do. They've done everything. And I think that's very joyful. There have been a few occasions where I've actually gotten to terminate conservatorships. Not often, but there are situations, like I had a COVID woman. She had been in a coma for 6 weeks, and totally ventilator and everything. Wow. And her husband was in the bed next to her. He died.
Wow.
And then she lived. And several months after she finally got out of the ICU, we were able to give her rights back because she got well.
Right.
And I find that joyful because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often. There are circumstances where people have started conservatorships because they were in a terrible accident, for example, and they had brain damage and things like that, and they couldn't do anything, and then they got better. So I find those to be the highlights, actually, is when you're able to do something that these people are finally either able to get out of a conservatorship or out of a guardianship.
Okay, the number to call is 244-6874, 244-6874. We only have about 17, 18, 19 minutes left, and we have the pleasure of having Judge Kathleen Gomes on the show, who is Probate Court Division 1. She is unopposed, so But like I tell people, this show is not a show that we ask for advertisement or anything like this. This is something that we do just to educate the community and to bring things to the community that we feel are beneficial and of interest to the community. That's going to help you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And all of the people that we have had on this show has brought something to the table. We've had Judge Moore. We've had Judge Lambert Ryan. We've had Clerk Halbert. We've had Sheriff Bonner. We had the pleasure of having him on here. We've had Brittany Thornton, who is running for I believe County Commission District 10. Early voting, today was the last day for early voting. I hope some of you guys took advantage of it. I know the polls were not that full, or were not as full as they should have been. I know some people wait for the actual day so that they could have the voting experience. I like I like the joy of walking in, voting, and walking out, and knowing that I have exercised my right as a citizen of this country, the greatest country in the world, the United States, to lodge my vote and my concern, and to vote for those individuals that I think are going to lead this community in the direction that it needs to be led, because we have a lot of work that needs to be done in this community, and we have so many good individuals that are out here vying for your vote. And you need to do your research. You need to look at what these individuals have done, what they are doing, and what they have the potential to do in the future. I'm a firm believer that, just like the judge said, one of the things she don't like doing is taking away an individual's right to vote, because that is so important. I don't think a lot of people realize that. I talk about the experience when I was coming up, and it was like a ritual and a rite of passage. My whole family, when I turned 18, and I just couldn't wait until I could do what they were doing, and that was to exercise my right to vote, because that was a privilege and an honor. And I am so glad that I continue to have the opportunity to do that. So what's next for Judge Gomes? You're unopposed. You're going to be here for another 8 years.
Continue to do what I do. I mean, you know, the other thing I was just going to mention too that we do a lot of is name changes, believe it or not. We discovered that and all the courts can do name changes, okay? It's just that we discovered we were having so many, we decided to set it, you know, in one day, like for an hour, hour and a half, whatever it may be, because to let people come in. Well, of course, during COVID, it was very difficult for an individual, because you do those pro se. In other words, you can do it without a lawyer. You can do a name change without a lawyer. So they were having a difficult time. So we set up Zoom hearings, because I have to see them. You know, if I'm going to change your name, I got to see you.
I want to see what you look like.
I got to see what you look like.
Make sure your face says
you are who you are. And so we were able to set up Zooms for all these people. So when we first started, I was doing it an hour on Thursdays. Well, then we had so many, then we made an hour and a half. And then we had so many, at some point, we had 30 to 40 name changes, believe it or not. I mean, a week, in a period. Can you imagine? So then, basically, it kind of went down to about 20. So we're up to about 20 a week now that we do these name changes. But now we're letting them come into court if they want to. But it is the way that we have been able to continue to open the courts to allow pro se people, because we are now doing electronic filing. Okay. But for a name change, you have to actually come down. And if you're pro se, you don't know how to do any of that, you know, and so that's why it's been so important for us to have the courts open to allow individuals on a pro se basis, because that's really, that in smaller states are the only way in our court that an individual can be pro se, because otherwise they have to have a lawyer. When, you know, in conservatorships, you're taking away rights from people, you got to have a lawyer. In an estate, you know, there's all kinds of things that need to be done, and it's a fiduciary relationship, you have to have a lawyer. So, you know, like general sessions in your court, you don't have to have a lawyer.
Right.
And in some of the instances in circuit and chancery, you don't have to have a lawyer, but in every instance except for name changes and small estates, you have to have a lawyer in probate court. You just have to.
Well, because you're dealing with property, you're dealing with people's rights, you know, estates and all of that kind of stuff. So you definitely.
But we have been really, I think, very good about trying to help the people on a pro se basis, because, you know, there was a need, and we just tried to figure out how to deal with it. And that's what we've tried to do the last 2 years. Now, the first year of the pandemic, I was actually the presiding judge, and that was a challenge, because that was trying to get the courts back open again. You know, the Supreme Court first said we weren't exactly closed down. You just couldn't come in. You know,
but you had to conduct the business.
That's right, and we had to figure out ways to do it. And so we had to, you know, prepare all these. Every court had to submit how they were going to handle it, and, you know, whether they're going to allow people in. And then, of course, we had the mask, and then we didn't have the mask, and then, you know, we've had to deal with a lot. And pretty much, I will just say that every court now is doing their own thing.
Yes. Yes, they are. I'm not going to get into it, but yes, they are. No.
Everyone is doing their own thing.
But, you know, I don't think people really understand, though, Judge. You know, I was a police officer, but now I kind of work within the court system, and I don't think a lot of people realize the length that you guys go to make sure that their rights are preserved, that they have the ability to be heard, that they have the ability to have their day in court, be it Zoom, be it in person, be it whatever. You know, I found a new love and respect for actually the court system, because, you know, like I said, this is America. This is the greatest country in the world, and we do have court systems to where, as individuals, have the ability to either protest or to attest, contest, or to present if in fact they feel a certain way about something, and you guys have the ability to, per the law, adjudicate what they have going on. So, you know, but I don't think a lot of citizens realize that.
Well, and in probate court, it may be somebody's first experience in court. They're not really being sued, they are participating because they're probating a will, for example, or in the conservatorship situation where it's not necessarily, because not everything's adversarial.
Right.
And so that's the other thing is that it's many people, and I know you've seen it, they're very nervous when they come to court. And, we've done a lot by telephone, which I never thought I would do too, but I've even had people nervous on the phone, and I'm not even seeing them.
They talking to a judge.
I know, I'm not even seeing
They talking to the judge.
You can just tell it's so funny too because we always say raise your right hand. Well, I don't know if they're raising their right hand.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're raising.
Promise you're raising your right
I
hand?
know. Are you sure you're raising your right
Because I
hand?
can't see you.
I can't see you.
Yeah.
But I bet you they all are.
Yeah. I'm not going to raise it just because I'm in my home and they can't tell me to raise my hand. So I'm not raising my hand. But I'm going to answer the questions, but I am not going to raise my hand. So let me ask you this. So you're going to get another 8 years. What do you hope to accomplish in those 8 years?
Well, I hope to continue to do what I'm doing.
Okay.
I want to be I want to be a spokesperson of trying to help people and to inform people. I really do feel it's my mission to try to get the word out of how we can help individuals. It's what drew me to this practice to begin with. But I do think it's so important that information and education is key.
Right.
It's key to everything.
It is.
And if we can get word out to tell people what they need to do and how they need to do it, how they can protect people, who they need to call, we've done a lot. We have an aging population, and that's another one of our issues. We have an aging population, and so we're going to continue to have more and more conservatorships. We're going to have more, and then now I think some of the repercussions of COVID we're going to see. I had a woman the other day who she became so clinically depressed in the last year that she quit eating. And now she's in a nursing home.
Wow.
And she won't eat anything. And they're trying to, give her things and trying to get. But I think unfortunately, I predict that we're going to see even more conservatorships of people that are now, we're trying to get back into things, but they've been so isolated that we don't even know what people we need to help. And I think that's going to be a real challenge for us in the court system. And that's another challenge that I believe that I need to get out the word, because I think that you're going to see so many more people that are going to need help.
I definitely agree with that. Not just because of COVID, though, Judge. What I'm starting to see also is when you look at our younger population, a lot of them are traumatized. A lot of them are going to have post-traumatic stress disorder because here in the city of Memphis, I can't speak for anywhere else, but here in the city of Memphis, you have so much crime going on.
The homicide.
In the inner city.
I see.
Yeah.
I see the results of the homicide.
Right.
I see the family members coming in that are opening an estate for a 20-year-old and hoping that he had insurance. Or figuring out if they can somebody they can sue to get some money. I cannot tell you how many victims of homicide I've seen, and it's gut wrenching. It's because most of these people that are being killed are young.
But it's also going to be
and they've got kids.
But it's also going to be those individuals that not just the individual's family, but you have all of these young people that are growing up around the violence that is occurring. So they're being psychologically affected.
Well, having to live with the fact that your father got murdered or that your mother killed your father. Ooh. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
That's a lot of baggage.
It is.
That is a lot of baggage that I wouldn't want anybody to have to come.
But that's why I'm always going to be busy.
So, but this is another segue. Crime. I know you're not a criminal judge, but I know you're from Memphis. You see what's going on here in this city. How do we fix this, Judge? How do you see it?
I think that everyone always says education. What I tell my families with parents with children with disabilities, that I wish that all parents were like families with children with disabilities.
Okay.
Because those parents are the ones that are out there pushing all the time, trying to find help for their children, trying to get education for their children, trying to get services for their children, going into schools and talking to the teachers. I hate to say that we need better parents, but
it starts at home.
But it does start at home, and if you could see what I see about these parents with disabled children, I said if all parents were like them, that they were vigilant, that they would go into schools, that they would talk to teachers, that they would be involved, that they would know what their kids were doing, I think that would be a big help. Now, I can't blame everything on parents. Right. We cannot do that,
Right.
But parents really could help.
They play a major role.
They do, and
because what you just described is what I remember my mom and dad being. What you just described is what I remember my community
I am
being
telling
growing
you,
up.
if you saw the parents that I see
Yeah.
of these disabled kids, you would be so impressed because they are out there fighting on a daily basis, trying to help their kids, trying to get services,
Advocacy. Yeah.
advocacy that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem, even here today. There's not enough parents that even step up to raise a flag to say that we have a problem in this city.
Right.
And like you said, I know it's not just the parents.
It's never all just parents, but I think that would certainly be a big step.
Yes. I know some communities, a lot of the things that occur here in the city of Memphis, those communities would not allow. They wouldn't stand for it. They would go to the streets because of it. When you got so many children that are being killed, so many children being killed by children.
Right.
When you have incidences of all of these robberies and carjackings and home invasions and, all of those bad things that are happening, if for nothing else, because there are a lot of good parents in this city and there are a lot of good kids in this city, but there would be those parents who would be out there advocating that their children be protected, that their homes be protected, that their livelihood be protected. All of these hardworking taxpayers in the city, and a lot of them, like you said, now not just because of COVID, but even I can see even before COVID. A lot of people, especially in the inner city, were talking about, I'm afraid to come out on my porch. I'm afraid to walk down the street. I'm afraid to do this. And if you are a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, and you're trying to do all those things that society has deemed the norm to live a gracious life, to work hard and to retire and to enjoy your twilight, then you want that protected.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're getting close to the end of our show. This has been a great conversation with Judge Gomes. So before you leave, I would say, tell these people why you want them to vote for you, but they're going to vote for you. Because you're going to be the only one on the ballot. So tell these people why they should push that button anyway.
Well, I think it's because I want to continue to do what I'm doing, and I do believe that I have done a lot in the court system and help people, which is what my goal is. It's what I want. It's what my passion is. This is my passion, the court system, as far as helping people with disabilities, helping the elderly, the disadvantaged. It's just something that's my passion, and I certainly would ask for your vote. Someone told me one time that, you make all these, if you were making a political speech, don't forget to ask to vote. Vote for me, because I had made a speech somewhere and they said, you forgot to ask for the vote. So I asked for your vote.
Okay. Hey, I definitely want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to tell you, I have had the pleasure of being in Judge Gomes' court. I've had the pleasure of watching Judge Gomes. These are the type of people that we definitely want to make sure that they are in place. you know, she is one who has been an advocate for the disabled. She is one that is definitely trying to ensure the quality of life for individuals and good stewardship of property that has been acquired by individuals and how it's distributed to those individuals and loved ones that are left behind. She enjoys doing the name changes and want to see the people, you know, and she's out here in the community. And that's what I always say. You have to be in touch with the community, and you have to be out in the community to be able to determine what the community wants,
Right.
What's best for the community, and what's going to be beneficial to the community that we love. You know, I tell people that I love Memphis. I love Memphis. I could have lived anywhere in the world. I've traveled all over the world. But I decided to come back home because this is the place that I want to be. And I'm so concerned about the direction of the city of Memphis. I'm so concerned about those individuals that we put into place that have stewardship over our quality of life, because that's exactly what it is. You know, when we talk about the mayor of the county, when we talk about the county commissioners, when we talk about the clerks, when we talk about all of those individuals that we are going to the polls to lodge our votes for, those are the individuals that we give stewardship over the quality of life that we have. And I take that very seriously. I really and truly do. I take it very seriously. And I definitely think that Judge Gomes is one of those individuals that you could definitely rest assured that if you, well, you ain't gonna have a choice because you go just punch that. If she just go to the poll and punch the button, she gonna be reelected. But I'm punching the button too. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna punch the button for Judge Gomes. So I would definitely really appreciate the fact that you came onto the show tonight.
Well, I appreciate this.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, and this is part of what I want to do is my education program.
Yes,
I really, you know, we're trying to get into churches, we're trying to get into organizations, we're trying to get in to make sure that as I said, if you see something, say something, and to let people know who to speak to.
So y'all just heard Judge Gomes. She's trying to get into these churches because we got a growing population of elderly. Definitely in this city, that's a good thing because that means people are living longer. We definitely have a need in this community with the COVID virus just happening, and hopefully we're coming out of that. But a lot of people are going to have lasting effects because of that, and then because of just things in life that is just happening. You know, there are so many things that are happening in this community. When we're having shootings on Beale Street, when we're having, you know, all of these things that are happening in the community on a daily basis, it leaves room for probate court judges, criminal judges, civil court judges. I mean, just all of that. So, but I definitely, once again, want to thank you for all that you have done serving on the bench for Shelby County. And we definitely look forward to you doing great and wonderful things in your next 8 years as probate court judge.
Thank you.
So to all of you out there in TV land, we definitely want to say thank you so much for tuning in as usual. You guys have always been gracious. You're definitely coming in to watch SVP TV Network. Miss Debbie is doing great and wonderful things. I think she's out there in Vegas now at a conference trying to learn how to better innovate and do more creative things with the SVP TV Network. Some people said it wasn't going to work, but I want to tell you, wrong. I just had to throw that in there. But I definitely want to say until next week, it's been a plum, pleasing pleasure. So until next week, be strong, be blessed, be encouraged, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
We're rolling in for another SVP.